Mtu ataonekana ambaye hapana yuko kwake, hatua yake itachukuliwa.
High-level security chiefs land in Narok even as more homes are torched.
There is increased movement of terror cells along our border in an area stretching between 200 and 220 kilometers.
And terrorists now changing tactics.
Daktari anasema alikuwa ameumizwa huku na blank object miguu, ni kama alikuwa amemvunja miguu kwanza, alafu na visu 6 kwa mwili.
Family seeks justice in the murder of their daughter. 16-year-old cycles from Nairobi to Nakuru to raise funds for the terminally ill. Welcome to the program. Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Nkaiseri has declared a dusk to dawn curfew in Olposimoru, Narok region following ethnic clashes that have so far claimed 3 lives since Friday. Nkaiseri has ordered additional contingent of General Service Unit officers to secure the area. This as 1 person more was killed Sunday and 10 more houses torched despite police presence. Nkaiseri led a contingent of local leaders holding peace meetings with both sides of the warring communities.
The Interior Cabinet Secretary led a high-profile delegation of leaders to Olposimoru, Narok County, following violent ethnic clashes that has resulted in deaths, displacement and destruction. 1 more person was killed on Saturday night, raising the death toll of the ethnic flare-ups between the Maasais and the Kipsigis to 3. 10 more houses were also burnt in the clashes that began on Christmas Day. This despite heavy deployment of security officers in the area. Nonetheless, reports indicate there is laxity within the security agencies deployed to restore peace, with claims of officers taking sides in the skirmishes. The Interior Cabinet Secretary held separate closed-door meetings with the warring communities. His meeting with the Maasai group was, however, disrupted after a group of Morans threatened to storm the meeting. It took the intervention of Nkaiseri's security guards to disperse the Morans.
Kuna mtu ataruhusiwa kuvunja sheria. Kama umepiga simu kuchochea watu, kama umepigia mtu message kuchochea watu, tuko na watu wa intelligence. We'll come for you.
Unaona sasa tumekuja hata kwa ndege. Unaona buffer zone, hakuna hata askari pale ndani. Unaacha raia waingie wapigane. Kama askari wameshindwa, for me there are go elsewhere, wengine wakuja hapa hivi.
Jamii ya Kipsigis na jamii ya Maasai waishi kwa amani. Hatuna agenda ingine.
Muwe Maasai, muwe Kalenjin, umeishi miaka hiyo yote pamoja, naomba muishi pamoja. Hii mambo inaitwa vita sasa ikwishe, iwe ceasefire, mpe serikali nafasi.
Nkaiseri has ordered a dusk to dawn curfew within the area, but tension remains high in the Maasai-Kalenjin border area. The Interior CS has ordered for the deployment of the General Service Unit GSU into the region to restore sanity. But there are fears that both sides of the warring communities have called in reinforcements in fear of reprisal attacks.
Nimetoa amri kwa GSU. Kuanzia leo, ile mtu ataonekana ambaye hapana yuko kwake, hatua yake itachukuliwa. Hata wale wamechoma shule kama wamechoma, leo hatalala manyumbani. Hiyo kitu usijali my friend. I'm now talking from the government point of view. So don't tell me what I know. Hiyo ni kazi ya serikali. Okay? So kelele hii ni kelele ya upuzi.
More people have been displaced as the violence that broke out on Christmas Day entered its 3rd day, with the number of families camping at Township Primary School in Olengroini Trading Center estimated to have risen to over 2,000 people. The violence was sparked by the killing of 2 herders in the Narok forest in what is believed to be a case of cattle rustling. Samogina, KTN News.
Elsewhere, Mandera leaders are sending a message of caution to the entire nation and particularly to security officers in the country. Led by Mandera Governor Ali Robert, the leaders say that terror cells within the northeastern region have for the last few weeks been charting into new territory. They have urged the national government as well as county leaders to tighten the fight against terror. This happens as the Health Secretary affirms that the government will foot the hospital bills of 2 victims of the Mandera bus ambush who are currently admitted at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
Mandera County has recently been hard hit by frequent terror attacks that have raised concerns among the area residents and leaders.
Within the last 3 weeks, we've had more than 7 terror incidences happening in Mandera. Actually, the first one was an IED explosion in Mandera town where 5 security officers were injured, which was followed by an attack on security vehicle where a security officer was killed, which was followed by an attack on the bus. By grace of Almighty Allah, no injuries were sustained in that attack near Wargadud. It was later followed by 2 incidences, which is an attack on a lorry as well as an attack on the bus where 2 Kenyans lost their lives. And yesterday there was an explosion that killed 2 Al-Shabaab members and injured quite a number that is unknown. And today we've had an attack at a place called Kurkura, which is near Alungu, between Elwak and Lafe, and where we lost 2 police officers and 2 were injured.
Mandera Governor Ali Roba, who together with other county leaders addressed the press in Nairobi on Sunday, says that Mandera residents have been sharing information regarding the movement of terror cells.
It has become absolutely necessary for us to share with Kenyans our grave concern as far as terror movement and terror trend is concerned within this country. Areas traditionally that in Mandera County never reported incidences of terror are currently getting affected by terror, and there is increased movement of terror cells along our border in an area stretching between 200 and 220 kilometers, meaning that if these issues do not get an upscaled, confrontation by the security team, it's just a matter of time before these issues will be spreading over to other counties from Mandera.
Robert says that from the intel they have received, intel they say they have shared with security officers, the security team on the ground may have to change tact.
Upscale the operation, and most particularly to do that on foot. These terror cells are not moving using the main roads, they are moving off-road and moving on foot. The engagement by security officers is always by movement on vehicles, and this is becoming ineffective in terms of dealing with the security crisis.
As this happens, 2 victims of last Monday's Mandera bus ambush will have their full medical bills catered for by the government. This is according to the Health Cabinet Secretary Cleopas Mailu, who visited the 2 at the Kenyatta National Hospital. The 2 were shot while shielding their fellow Christian passengers when the bus was attacked by suspected Al-Shabaab militants.
Affirm the government's commitment that we stand by Kenyans of goodwill who come up and stand up for their friends, for fellow Kenyans when the time of difficulty occurs.
They will only be discharged once they are ready to be discharged to go home. And in terms of money, probably just to add to what the CS has said, is that at this point, even we actually don't have the total bills. The patients are still going through the treatment.
The Health Cabinet Secretary has denied reports that the Kenyatta National Hospital had denied to admit the 2 victims without pay. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News.
This comes as 2 police officers were this morning killed and 2 others injured in an ambush by suspected Al-Shabaab militants. The incident occurred along the Lafey-Elwak Road in the county of Mandera. The incident comes barely 2 days after a similar attack in which 2 Kenyan police convoys were attacked in northern Kenya, killing at least 1 police officer. The Al-Shabaab group, which seeks to overthrow Somalia's Western-backed government and impose a strict version of Sharia laws, carried out regular assaults in neighboring Kenya in retaliation for Kenya's contributing troops to an African Union peacekeeping force in Somalia. The results of a post-mortem performed on the remains of a 24-year-old woman found dead 5 days ago in her boyfriend's house in Nairobi's Nyayo estate reveal she died of multiple stab wounds. This as it emerged the deceased Charity Mukami and the now prime suspect in her murder had secretly secured a marriage certificate. And as KTN's Lofty Matambo now reports, the suspect is still at large.
A somber mood is evident at the home of the deceased in Tasia Estate, Embakasi, Nairobi. Friends and relatives have been camping here for the past 5 days, mourning the demise of 24-year-old Charity Mukami Wachira, who went missing for about a week and later was found dead in her boyfriend's house in Embakasi's Nyayo Estate, Nairobi.
Kupata namba ya mama kwa wazazi wake wanakaa huku Nyayo pia. Sasa mama akatafuta namna, wakapeleleza, wakapata namba ya mama.
Sasa kufika kule hata harufu yenyewe iko mpaka kwa mlango. Kwenda kufika hapo kabisa ilikuwa ni mtoto tu.
But the revelation of the cause of her death from the postmortem that was conducted at Kenyatta University Laboratories adds more pain in the hearts of the mourning family.
Daktari anasema alikuwa ameumizwa huku na blank object miguu. Ni kama alikuwa amemvunja miguu kwanza. Alafu na visu 6 kwa mwili. Na huku hapa kulikuwa na kisu very deep. Ati ili twistiwa hivi. Na huku kote alikuwa amemweka visu mingi.
Though the last photos Charity took with her boyfriend of 40 show life in abundance, her parents admit citing some signs of danger just a few months to her death.
Kama November 8th alimpiga na tukapata habari zetu sisi, tukamwambia kuna kitu tutaongea kama Charity hayuko hapa. Unamuacha namna gani? Wewe utakuja kuua mtoto wangu siku moja.
But what puzzled the family even more is this marriage certificate, a marriage which neither the family nor the closest friends were aware of. Many questions emerging as to why Charity decided to collaborate with her boyfriend in keeping their marriage a big secret.
Alikuwa ni rafiki kwa maana mtoto wetu tulikuwa tunaishi naye hapa. Sasa alikuwa anaenda na narudi.
Charity has left behind a 3-year-old daughter, the little one unaware of exactly what has befallen her mother.
Mtoto mzuri sana. Mtoto anapenda watu wote. Tutamkosa.
The police officers at Embakasi police station are still carrying on the manhunt for the prime suspect in the murder, although the family is calling for speedy investigations. However, the police term it as a clear murder case.
Achukuliwe hatua kwa sababu yeye ni muuaji. Sina haya kusema yeye ni muuaji.
As the whole world is in the festive mood, all that Charity's family wants is justice, even as the suspect is still in the hide. Lofty Matambo, KTN News, Embakasi, Nairobi.
Certainly a somber Christmas for the Wachira family. Now, a unique Christmas party went down in the county of Kwale, where a member of parliament decided to throw a bash for drug addicts. And as the party went on, some of those in attendance could not resist the urge to have their usual thing as part of the menu. KTN's Ashley Mazuri has details on that.
4 years, drug abuse in Kenya has become a hard nut to crack. It is said that the domestic use soars as international drug cartels have turned East Africa into a major transit route for narcotics. The situation forced the government to intervene by setting stiff penalties earlier this year meant to curb the menace. And as holiday festivities continue, in Kwale County, Msambweni's Member of Parliament Suleiman Dori organized a Christmas party for the addicts. Even at the event, the addicts will not resist the urge to remain high. This as others share some of the challenges they face.
Na madawa ya kulevya, ukiangalia hapa mbele yangu, huyu ndio mtoto wangu. Hatujui jioni huyu tutakula vipi, tutaishi vipi. Lakini kama tungekuwa tutumia madawa ya kulevya, tungekuwa tuna makazi yetu, tunafanya makazi yetu, hata kama hivyo hata unaweza kupata mwanaume mzuri akakustiri. Lakini vile uko maunga, anasema mimi siwezi kuweka mteja kwa nyumba, atanibia kila kitu, asio wrong. na ramba, naenda na unga, na sitapata chochote.
As the celebrations kicked off, the Member of Parliament claimed that he was ready to deal with drug cartels in the region, urging for the names of the cartels as he promised a reward of 5,000 shillings for every name.
Wale watu wanauza kule mtaani, wanauza yale makete, wanauza bugizi, wanauza nini? Ninawaomba nileteni majina, na yule mtu ataleta jina, kila jina ni shilingi 5,000. Na hiyo nikifanya hivyo nina maana ya kwamba nyinyi mumeshirikiana katika hali ya kwamba mwataka kupata tiba. Tumalize hii maneno.
Christmas is a time known for sharing and showing love, but with over 700,000 drug addicts in Kenya, according to Nakada, should leaders be throwing parties or building rehabilitations to curb the fast growing problem in our communities? Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
In other news, Deputy President William Ruto has lauded the show of togetherness portrayed by Muslim faithfuls aboard a Mandera-bound bus that was attacked by Al-Shabaab militia last Monday. The Muslims refused to be separated from non-Muslim passengers. KTN's Mercy Kandia with the details on that story.
The Deputy President is asking Kenyans to sing to the tune of oneness. Ruto spoke when he attended a church service at the Anglican Church of Kenya in Ngenyilel in his Tarbo home. He applauded the togetherness portrayed recently by Islam faithful who protected Christians in a recent Al-Shabaab attack in Mandera.
Vile tuliona juzi, ndugu zetu wa Kenya Waislamu walikataa mambo ya watu wahalifu kuwaumiza Wakenya wengine. Inamaanisha ya kwamba sisi wote tuko na sehemu ya kuchangia kuhakikisha ya kwamba jirani wetu yuko salama.
Ruto said the Muslims showed immeasurable patriotism that should set pace for peaceful living among all Kenyans. The DP observed that terror masterminds should be dealt with individually, urging against religious stereotypes that benefit the attackers at the expense of the nation.
Tuwapende majirani zetu. Jirani awe ni jirani wa kanisa ama jirani wa dini nyingine, tujue ya kwamba mapenzi iwe kati yetu. Ndio tuweze kujenga imani yetu na tuweze kujenga taifa letu.
Ruto, however, added that the security organs should step up their service delivery and thwart any risk of insecurity build-up across the country, especially during this festive season when most Kenyans are taking a break from their tedious working routines. He added that the government has hugely invested in recruiting security personnel at all levels.
Na tumewaambia wale wanaolinda usalama, hatutaki tena kusikia ya kwamba Wakenya wameuawa sehemu fulani, watu wamepoteza maisha yao sehemu fulani.
Mercy Kandia, KTN News, Uasin Gishu County.
16-year-old David Chege is spending part of his Christmas holiday cycling. You know, it is not for fun, nor is it for exercise. David hopes to raise funds to support the Nairobi hospice by cycling from Nairobi all the way to Nakuru, which he has already done. KTN Zinzi Kibiku brings us David's story.
Silent and empty streets have taken over the big city this festive season. But if you take a keen look, you may just catch a glimpse of a young man cycling away. The 16-year-old boy is on a mission on his bicycle. They say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. For David Chege, that step is a cycle away. It is 7 o'clock a.m. and David is on the road. David took 2 months in training to prepare for the task ahead. With his trainer Eddie Kayo and a team of 10 people, they are on a quest to raise funds to purchase a vehicle for Nairobi Hospice. The institution faces challenges of transporting terminally ill patients from one location to another. David's late uncle, who passed from prostate cancer, motivated him to cycle for a better tomorrow.
I decided that I also needed to do something about that because me and some friends had already done something previously, but then I also wanted to take it further and do a fundraiser for them involving me riding to Nakuru and asking people to give me 50 bucks per kilometer.
While his mother Julia remained at home, she prayed for his safety, and his father Kagunda, like a shadow in the night, was driving right behind him through it all.
The Nairobi hospice itself brought in a lot of people to help me out in facilitating the project.
When David is tired, he takes a short break of between 10 to 20 minutes to quench his thirst, stretch, and even do a bit of sightseeing.
Dad, this is the uphill to Nakuru. This is where it starts.
There is a downhill after that.
And before you know it, he is back on the road.
Yeah, and then we start the uphill.
Huh?
Yeah, and then we start the uphill.
Okay.
130 kilometers in, David is exhausted and his legs are burnt out from the continuous cycling, but he will not give up.
The challenge itself is very hard, but for you to use your own talents and skills to help people in need is a very great experience.
Evening is quickly approaching. As the sun sets, David is ambitious. He tries to cycle well into the night. It is 8:30 p.m. and David safely arrives at the Nairobi hospice as the welcoming committee congratulates him for his selfless effort.
I want to applaud his mental strength, having taken the challenge by the horns and ensure that he has made it a success.
For me, it was a step of faith. And but to see it come to a completion, for me, it's such an excitement. I thought to myself, will he actually make it to do 150 plus kilometers?
Like, my legs are really tired, but then mentally, I'm really excited that I was able to finish it. It was hard and challenging, and I had doubts as I was riding along. But now that I'm here, it's a nice feeling.
David and his team hope to raise about 500,000 shillings by the end of this week as we welcome 2016. Zinzi Kibiku, KTN News.
Thank you, Zinzi, for the story, and our very own Murage for the camera. A very good and important way to bring the Christmas cheer. By 16-year-old David Chege, who is in the studio accompanied by his dad, Kagunda Chege. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
David, that's a noble idea. It's a noble thing you're doing, to help the Nairobi hospice. Who brought that idea? Who planted that idea in your head?
After I'd done the initial project with my school, raising 300,000.
Just tell us why it started with the school, the project with the school.
Initially, it started with my teacher, Mrs. Ann, who took our global citizenship class on a trip to the Nairobi hospice and showed us how they take care of the cancer patients who are suffering, how they provide support, family care, and all that stuff. And after we had completed, we decided to, as a class, to raise money so that they can widen their efforts as a hospice and also buy a vehicle which will allow them to go to people in the slums who are in late stages of cancer and are in too much pain to come to their center. So after we had done that, finished in around August, I personally decided that I really wanted to do something more, as my uncle had cancer and I saw the pain he went through. So I decided that I was going to do something about it, and I approached my dad with the idea that I want to do more. And he told me that, yeah, I should. And we brainstormed over it, and we got the idea of me cycling 160 kilometers.
Tell us about the cycling. How was it?
It was challenging. Before the week that I went the 160 kilometers, the most I'd done was around 50. So my body muscles weren't used to going such long distances over a long day, because it took me 13 and a half hours to get there. So my body wasn't used to it. In the first 60 kilometers, that's when I really felt a lot of it, as we were ascending up to Limuru, and a lot of it was the climb. So I really felt the burn in my legs. But then after that, it got easier for me, as I kept on thinking of the people I was helping through the effort I was doing.
Driving to Nakuru, there are some tough climbs. How long did you take to do the whole journey?
The whole journey took 13 and a half hours, starting from 7 a.m. and we reached there at 8:30 in the night.
Yes, let's bring your dad into the conversation, Mr. Kaguna. Thank you so much. You are part of that journey, just trying to be there for your son. Just tell us how it was for you.
The longest I've ever driven to Nakuru, 13.5 hours. I usually would take a lot shorter than that, so it was interesting. I didn't have to worry about speed guns, you know. But I think for me, the greater joy was just watching my son persevere through. There are several hills along that route, and initially I had assured him that once he's through the Limuru hill, then most of the way should be easier. But I realized along the way that actually there were more hills that looked a bit tough. But overall, I remember at some point stopping and asking him, "Are you sure you want to finish this?" And he told me, "Dad, I'm stopping in Nakuru." And I thought, okay, whatever time we get there, even if we get there at midnight, that's okay, but I'm going to support him all the way. So I'm so glad that he was able to finish.
How many stopovers, if you can remember, did you do from Nairobi to Nakuru?
We did, the longer ones were, I think, 3. We did stop once he finished the hill at Limuru for some time for him to catch a bit of breath. This we took some time. The next stop was, we stopped briefly at the viewpoint, and then a bit longer at, I think there's a pizza inn along the way there, you know, right once you peak really the total climb before we start now the downhill towards Naivasha. And then the next one was at Delamere, just after Naivasha, to just take a short break. And then beyond that, we just went all the way.
Yeah, David, there's a lot of traffic on that road. It's a very busy highway. Were you worried about your safety?
Yeah, a bit. I was trying to go as fast as possible. My trainer had told me that if you want to go on the highway, the safest bet is just to go as fast as possible. And on that long journey, I was scared because I wasn't sure I could keep up the speed. But then the road traffic and people who are driving were really considerate of me, which I was surprised of, and they allowed me to just take my time, get off the road when needed, and all that stuff.
Yes. Tell us how much you want to raise and how much maybe you've raised so far.
Right now we are under 200,000 Kenyan shillings, but then we are hoping to reach 1 million Kenyan shillings because the cost of the vehicle is really high. However, the hospice has been able to raise over half of the sum. So by the end of this week, we hope to have raised 1 million with the closing of the project itself.
Do you have a sum maybe you've said maybe per kilometer you want to raise?
Yeah.
Kenyans can give you this?
I would like to be very kind of people to give 10 to 50 bob for every kilometer I did, which is a sum ranging from 160 to 5,000 Kenyan shillings. If Kenyans really take charge of the event and they're able to come together and give individually these small sums, by the end of the day we'll have raised enough to help the people who are suffering from cancer.
Yeah, maybe for somebody who missed the whole objective of your journey, expedition and everything, maybe you can just explain to the Kenyans what you are aiming to achieve or to purchase for the Nairobi Hospice.
The Nairobi Hospice has a center where the cancer patients normally go and are attended to, being offered palliative care, counseling, and a social support system. So even though that they're suffering and maybe they've been left alone to deal with this, they still have some sort of family to take care of them. However, there are people who are in late stages of cancer, feeling severe pain and or unable to reach the hospice due to a lack of funds. So the director decided to purchase a vehicle which will allow them not only to service people who come to them, but to go out to the people who need their help. So that's what we are trying to achieve. We need a 4x4 vehicle because a lot of these people are in the slum areas such as Kibera, with thousands of people who can't be able to reach the hospice itself.
Okay. Mr. Chege,
yes,
this, like David told me earlier, it's a personal story that motivated him to have that idea in his head. Maybe you can tell us more about his uncle.
His uncle started off with a diagnosis of prostate cancer, and most doctors actually thought that it would be easy to deal with because they diagnosed it early, but it happened to be pretty aggressive, and unfortunately then it spread throughout the body, and by 2013 then he passed on. And I guess that was David's first encounter with a real cancer patient, and hence the pain and the passion that he has had for this particular project.
David, how much more? Are you willing to cycle to do another tour if maybe this is not enough to raise that money?
Yeah, I talked with the hospice and decided we wanted this to be an annual event where we could get not only me but young people with the different talents to use their talents to reach great feats, and with those feats raise awareness and also raise money for the hospice to be able to provide to the cancer patients in need.
And to Kenyans maybe who are wishing to contribute to that, where can they send the money to their contributions?
They should send the money to 982-650, which is an M-Pesa account cycling. The money will go directly to the hospice, and with that they'll be able to purchase the vehicle.
All right, we'll be sure to keep sending the details of the account number, M-Pesa, so that Kenyans can keep sending their contributions. And you're just 16 years old. Many 16-year-olds right now are just enjoying their holidays, traveling all over the country. How do you feel? I mean, this is a really noble idea.
I don't think it's something that makes me really special, because again, with the efforts, I also had help from my friend Kinga, my schoolmate, who helped me raise the money, and around 10 people who are around my age, teenagers, who also went telling all the people they know about what we are doing, trying to get them to raise money and to send money to us. So seeing that, being able to be a part of that, really encouraged me to understand that being young does not incapacitate you to do great things to help people out in whatever way that is needed.
What was the most challenging part of the physical journey, the cycling to Nakuru?
The last 30 kilometers were really a challenge for me, as at that point my legs had burnt out, and looking forward it was just highway and highway and highway remaining. There was no end in sight at the time. But then, even though at that point it was really painful, having the pictures of the cancer patients in mind, of my uncle in mind, really motivated me to know that I have no option but to finish. People are relying on me. They need my help, so I must finish.
Finally, Mr. Chege, maybe your son here is very modest about the idea. What do you feel as a father when you see your son having such a good idea?
I can't be more proud as a father, really. What would a father long for, rather than a son that has a global view? In today's world, we are brought up thinking a lot about ourselves, and not really thinking about, in fact, in Nairobi, if I may ask you, Ben, do you know your neighbors? And perhaps you'll tell me, I know just, I've seen the face, kind of thing.
True.
But to see a young man like him beginning to think, wow, I can actually make a difference in this world. And for people he's never seen, really, I think for me, it just makes me very, very proud of him. Yeah.
David, what do you say maybe to other young teenage Kenyans watching?
I encourage them to help out in the community, to not be self-centered and only think about themselves, thinking about their fun and issues that only deal with themselves, but to also get a general view of our country, what's happening in Kenya, the issues that deal with it and that stuff, and to use their talents, their abilities to be able to help people out in such situations, to be able to create awareness for cancer or help people with HIV, or helping out their neighbor with their chores and anything of that sort.
Sure. And to Kenyans, maybe want to, just if you can give them the details again, who want to contribute to that drive.
Please, I urge all Kenyans to contribute to M-Pesa Baybill 982-650 account cycling. The money will be really, really, really helpful to those people, and to just help bring a better Kenya to us, a Kenya where we have such a great community that everyone will help each other out when we are in need, when we are feeling troubled. That's the aim of this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Mr. Chege, for
Thank you very much for having us.
That is 16-year-old David Chege, accompanied by his father, Kagunda Chege. Very noble idea. Did cycle from all the way from the capital, Nairobi, to Nakuru to raise funds for the Nairobi Hospice to buy a vehicle to be able to help out at their cancer center. Many thanks for staying with us. We are still spreading that Christmas cheer. 3 days to the end of the year. Held in Mbale town, Vihiga County, every Boxing Day, the Maragoli Cultural Festival has for a long time been one of the biggest events of the year in the region. This year's cultural showcase of the Maragoli and other Luya communities' culture in Vihiga was a colorful but was also eclipsed by the politics that took center stage. Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi asserted his presidential ambition, and Water Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa openly asked Western leaders to shelve their presidential ambitions, at least for now.
Every other Boxing Day, Mbale in Vihiga comes alive. The Maragoli Cultural Festival takes center stage. In decades gone by, it was the biggest event of the year in the region. Even former President Daniel Arap Moi would attend the ceremony. The event was a showcase of not only the culture of the Maragoli of the Luya community, but also the neighboring Tiriki, Banyore, Idaho, and the Kisa. Moses Mudavadi, one of the pioneer Luya politicians, was the event's first patron, a responsibility handed to his son, Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi. But over the years, contemporary politics cast its shadow over the event, this year being no exception.
Mimi na ofisi yangu mwaka ujao ambao tunaanza sasa, tumesema our target is to register this week. Hatutaki wakati huu watu watuelezea kwamba hatukuwa na kura. Kuwa na kura, ukikataa kupiga tutajua tu kwamba ulikataa kufanya nini? Kupiga kura.
Then the subject of party hopping and defection.
Wale mashetani wanaesumbua Luya community sema washindwe. Sema washindwe. Hii declaration ya hapa Musalia Mudavadi, I'm telling you the truth. Your struggle of today is your strength of tomorrow. And that is a fact. We don't want to see Jubilee malls surrounding you. We don't want to see KTN psychophants surrounding you.
But Water Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa read a different script, borrowed from the art of war.
Sometimes retreat is not surrender. Sometimes you must retreat in order to advance. And retreat is not surrender. It's the art of war.
The CS believes that leaders from this region should shelve their ambition until they can come up with a united front and field one strong candidate. Core Principal Moses Wetangula, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, and former Lugari Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo all have their eyes on State House. The narrative of the elusive Luya unity continues to play out. Dorcas Wangira, KTN News, Vihiga.
I'm already getting a lot of flack online for calling the game between Manchester United and Chelsea a mid-table clash for Manchester United fans, the likes of my colleague Robert Wanyonye. I guess we'll find out tomorrow if that is indeed a mid-table clash. That's where we leave it on KTN Weekend Edition for this last Sunday of the year 2015. My name is Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.
KTN News. Get the whole story.